Alrighty guys, what's going on? We've got the Grizzly back in the garage here again today. Last clip you probably saw we were pulling it out of the garage, but did some test drives on it. Everything's pretty much working as it should with the cooling system, and the bars are all up there intact and everything, but we do have a couple more problems that popped up that, you know, it's to be expected. It's a, what, 16-year-old quad? Something like that. Anyway, the first thing, something going on with this here brake master, as these back tires, they're locked up, so something in there is sticking, and this cable here popped out of there. That's for the foot brake. But so yeah, that is stuck, which is in turn keeping the brake light on, and the back wheels don't want to turn, so you can't push it around. It'll drive, but that's not right, so we got to address that. And the other main thing that we have to address is these bars. Now you see all the play there? I can hold this tire and move the bars a whole bunch. What I'm trying to get at is there is a ton, I mean a ton of play in the end of the tie rod up there, way up here, where it meets the bottom of the steering post. There's a little arm that the tie rods connect to, and there's a ton of play in there. And that is bolted onto the bottom of that Super ATV aftermarket. There's a Super ATV aftermarket steering, power steering on here. Whoever had this previously must have switched out. I don't know if the stock factory one went to kaput or what happened, but it's got the Super ATV steering on there, and it works, but it's just super sloppy. And I'm assuming, I mean, there's no way to know, but I'm assuming that's why they rolled it the first time, or whatever they did with it. But so we're gonna pull a bunch of parts off here, and I'm gonna switch out the Super ATV power steering with a factory unit, and then we'll also change this out with a different one. I have a different set of bars and everything. I think I'm just gonna throw on there. It's a whole assembly. It's already together, so that'll be a little quicker. So we're gonna have to pull a bunch of this stuff back apart again, but that's the nature of the beast. So we'll pull the whole front end apart, and hopefully when we do this master cylinder, that addresses the brakes, and then we can get the steering tightened back up. And I believe the other handlebars has a good winch controller on it, or a mount for the winch controller, so that'll be taken care of. And then this ATV should be pretty well good to go. So I'm going to start tearing this apart, and we'll set you guys up here. All right, you can see we've got the front fenders off, front rack, front bumper, and now we're encountering these wires again, which I encountered the first time. And we were powering three different things here. This powers the hand warmers, this powers the winch, and this powers the power steering, which we're going to be removing, so we don't have to worry about that. But I am going to fix this so that we can just unplug these plugs like you're supposed to be able to, and we don't have to worry about this anymore. And preview, whoever owns this next doesn't have to worry about this anymore. So we're going to fix this properly. So we just have to go and tap into these wires on the other side of this plug, get that taken care of, and we can just unplug these, the key switch and the 12-volt auxiliary plug at the plugs, instead of having to worry about these super annoying and unreliable Scotch locks, which if you're ever doing any wiring, I would never recommend using these things. They're terrible. So I'm gonna get that taken care of, and we're gonna keep digging into getting at this steering assembly. So we'll keep going on that. Alrighty, so as far as this wiring goes, we've got this wire that's coming out of the power steering, pulled that out. Got this wire that's coming out of the hand warmers, pulled that out. The hand warmers are going to be removed from this machine, so I'm not going to be using that. We're not going to be using this power steering anymore. It'll hopefully plug in all factory. And then the last wire that was plugged in here was the winch wire, which is over here. And that was this. That's just the switch wire so that the winch button only works when the key is turned to on. So I have this right here, a new switch with a mount and wiring on it. So this part plugs into the solenoid down by the winch. And this part actually has the plugs on it, so we can just tap in right to this plug right here, and we don't have to splice any wires. So that's a nice clean way to do it. So the wire we were all tapped into here, I taped it all up so it's all protected, and hopefully we're not going to have any trouble with that. So we're going to keep tearing stuff apart here. So this switch wire is going to actually go bye-bye, and we're going to put that one down there in. And I'm going to keep getting stuff out of my way here so I can get at all of this power steering. These got to go. This whole steering post assembly is going to go. And I've got a different one to put in there. So I'm going to keep going on that. Check that out. She looks a little different now, huh? No steering. All the way down to the tie rods here. Everything is removed. This is the lower portion. And you can see there's a ton of play here in these splines. And that translates to even more play at the tires and at the handlebars. So that's why that needed to be addressed. So now I'm looking at replacing with a factory unit, all that good stuff, and putting it back in here. And when I was looking at the power steering controller, which we have here, these are your power wires. These two wires here go to the actual power steering motor, and then this plugs into the wire harness. Well, turns out we're in a little bit of a conundrum here because this machine is an 08. It's got the camo fenders on it, and I thought it was the 08 Hunter version with the power steering factory. And turns out it's not. So there's no spot in this wire harness to plug in this or these, which these you could easily just connect to the battery, but there's nowhere to plug this in because this model here didn't come factory with power steering. So somebody must have put these camo fenders on here at one point, and that's why they put in the aftermarket power steering that was in here. So that's I guess I didn't do enough research, but whatever, it is what it is. So now we have to try to remedy the situation, and in order to do that, I think what I'm going to do, I could see potentially if Super ATV has a replacement for this lower stub shaft and this little arm here. I tried to check and see if this arm, which is the factory arm, would fit, but the spline shaft is a different size on there, so it doesn't even come close to fitting on here. Maybe the stock Grizzly with no power steering has a lower stub shaft here that would work. I don't know. But I have this, so I'm going to make this work. So I think what I'm going to do is, even when you put this nut on here and you tighten this all the way down, this still has play like this. So no matter how tight you get that, that doesn't take away the slop. So I think I'm just going to put a weld around here, and that'll take away any play there is in there, because I can still get this whole assembly in and out of down in there. if it's all together like that. So that's not a big deal if I weld that up, and then I can just put the nut on there for decoration. So that should take care of any of that slop, and then I can put the pump back in, because it did work. There was just a lot of slop in the steering there. So with that, next thing I'm going to do is weld this up, and then we can start putting the Super ATV power steering back in here. And hopefully that takes care of that situation, and I can pull the master cylinder off the bars right there for taking care of the brake issue that was going on. I guess we can check right now, see if these brakes we're in gear. Okay. Oh, we're just spinning the axle shafts. Okay. Yeah, our tires move now, so the calipers themselves aren't seized. So that would mean the brake master cylinder was what was sticking, or the lever or something was sticking on the handlebars there. So we'll replace it with a good one there, and then that should remedy the brakes. But for now, let's get this thing going. Alright, she's not perfect, like they say. That ain't going anywhere. Solid now. Not gonna be any more play in that piece. And the bearing still works just fine. I just put some fresh grease around that bearing, packed it all in there real nice, so that should be good. So now we can put this on here for decoration. Snug that up and reinstall that piece right in here. So I'm gonna get start throwing this back together. All right, kind of hard to see down in here, but we got the pump in, or the electric motor, I guess. There's a bracket for it. Got all those bolts tightened up. Got the lower tie rods hooked up. We have the upper steering post intact and the upper steering post bushing mounted up. So that stuff is all in. And here's the other side of the electric power steering motor. And while we're down here, I'm going to take this here wire, which is the winch controller wire that mounts on the handlebars and plugs into the winch solenoid, which is right back here and hard to see. There's a green wire for it. Switch that out with the other one we have that has the good handlebar mount on it. Feed the wire up through here, and we'll get the handlebars thrown on, so we'll do that next. Alright, you can see we got some more stuff put together here. We got the bars on. We've got the new winch controller installed here. Cable ran down to the winch solenoid. We got all the cables and the hoses on the bars hooked up and connected. And these bars I took off of a 2013, and this is a 2008. They bolted right on. I needed to use the mounts that were on the 2008 because this steering post for this Super ATV power steering kit has a flat top, and the steering post from the 13 has a concave area for the bars to sit in. But so I had to use the mounts. The brake reservoirs, that all bolted up just fine. Everything on that side plugged in just fine. This side I had to pull the throttle off of the 08 bars and use it because it only has one, or it has two plugs that connect into the wiring down here. Right here you can see there's two plugs, and this is the throttle from the 13, and it only has one plug, so they did something different there. But other than that, that's all connected and hooked up. Here's where the winch power wire taps into the factory harness, so that's pretty clean. So this connects up to the auxiliary power port on the fender there. And then in here with the power steering, we're all buttoned up. We just need to mount up the controller and plug these cables in. This is the power steering controller that comes with the Super ATV kit. So with this, we have these two wires that are right there, and then we have these two plugs which go, these two wires go to the battery for powering the unit, and then this white wire is the signal wire from the key switch, so that turns it on when the key turns on. So that's that. We're gonna get some more of this stuff mounted up and some more stuff put back together here and get this project wrapped up. So almost there. Alright, as you can see, we got some parts on here, some fenders, racks, some fascia, what you call them. Anywho, let's coming together. We just got to throw the front tires on yet. And when I was putting this lower front skid plate on, noticed, if you can see down here, right there, there's no bolt on the front lower portion of the differential. So I'm going to put one in there, because obviously there should be one in there. But in order to get one in there, I'm going to have to pull this lower A-arm out so I can slide it in. So that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Out of the old bolt bin, found a bolt that's metric and looks to be about the right size. Won't know for sure until I get this out of the way to see if it fits, but I think it'll go. And then throw it on the other side and call her a day. Get the front tires on here, clean her up, get it out of the garage. All right, everybody, here it is. All done, ready to go, waiting for somebody to buy it. Not too bad of a project. Changing some racks, some rack mounts, relocating the radiator back where it belongs, fixing the power steering, or steering linkages, I suppose. Fixing, putting on some handlebars that weren't bent. And fixing a few minor things, different brake master reservoir, and where this linkage mounts in here. So, a couple little things, not a whole lot, but she's ready to go. Anyway, thanks for watching.